And we're gonna have Latasha go and speak first, and then once we finish our food, then we will go in with Sheriff and then with Michelle. Okay? Yes, Latasha.
All right. Hello, hello. So, how many people, this is your first time at a Give It to the People event? Okay. So, let me just tell you a couple of ground rules that if you didn't know that you have permission to do today. So, first, you have a mini Tammy. Does anybody know why you have mini Tammy? But let me tell you, the original Tammy is here and in the building. Okay? All right. So, at any point today, while we are having our luncheon, and it doesn't have to be me, it could be whether Chair say something, whether the commissioner, okay, say something, or Chisa, or if you're talking to somebody and you're like, man, this is what I came here for today. All right, that's the purpose. These mini Tammys, I love them, okay? I have a couple in colors, okay? So every time I brought mine and she was like, oh no, you get a new one today, okay? However, so that's the first ground rule. Second ground rule is we have fans. Now, let me just say, and we are all women, so we can have this conversation. We may, no matter what your age, but at some point, you may be cold, you may be a little warm, or you may not even know how you feeling. This little fan right here is gonna give you life today. So use this fan. Again, it is a give it to the people kind of fan. So I just want you to have permission to do these things, okay? And then, because I am going first and I just took privilege for all these rules, under your menu, you have all about me, what I do, the services that we provide, and all of that, all right? So that is the ground rules. Now, I get the pleasure going first. She knows I like to kind of close up to wrap everything up, but today I get to kick it off. And so as we kick it off today, the theme of today is what? Women who build. And I wanted to tie this in reference to how we are women leaders who build, women entrepreneurs who build. We are, if any of you are mothers, you are building. If you are wives or have a spouse or a partner, you are building. If you have parents who you are either caregiving for, you are building, right? No matter what you have, and you have other life things, there are things that you are building. So this moment, I want you to celebrate you, to enjoy, relax, and enjoy the atmosphere, the flowers, the music, because you are building something great in 2025. And so I want to talk about how we do that. And I want to talk about being intentional. So for those of you that know me, y'all know I like to connect people. So Infinity Bridges, one of the things is, and as we were talking today, I was like, you need to call this person. You need to call that person. This person needs your services. So I want to talk about how we build community, how we build networks, how we build our own kind of, women network opportunities. So no matter what your field is, again, whether you're a business owner, whether you are a leader, you are still a women builder. So I want to talk about a couple of building strategies. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. And so, of course, when we're thinking about that, we got to think about a couple of things that as women that we really need. First and foremost, we are already the blueprint. Okay? I want y'all to already know that. Whatever you have, whatever idea, you are the blueprint. Because let me just say, as all those things that I said you are, life moves forward because of all of you in this room. Now again, no matter what kind of blueprint you are making, whether you're making a blueprint in your business, whether you're the leader in an organization and you're making a blueprint for that, but you are that blueprint. So the first thing that I want you to walk away with is, what else do I need to make my blueprint greater? What else do I need to really expand that blueprint? And then the other thing that I want you to think about is, when you have a blueprint, the next thing then is you got to implement it through a foundation. So when you're building something, it starts with foundation. Now, let me just say today, if you look around, hopefully you've met somebody that you've not met before. Hopefully you reconnected with somebody that you haven't seen in a while. This is what building a foundation looks like. So I don't want y'all to just leave here today and be like, man, we had a good food, had good atmosphere, we look really cute, but then don't follow up. So remember, every person in this room can be a part of your foundation for what you're trying to build. And so I want you to kind of remember that. And then the last thing is my favorite word, right? The bridge. So the bridge really is a connector. It has two ends, and you can either connect someone else to the bridge, you can either have multiple people on the bridge, you can do a lot. So what I want to really get you to think about is how to make your bridge the strongest bridge it needs to be. And the way that we are able to be stronger is together. The way that we are able to move forward and to accomplish whatever that you have on your blueprint is together. And it takes even just saying, hey, I saw this and let me send this to you. Oh, you know what? I'm going here. Do you want to come and go with me? Do you want to be my wing woman? Do you want to, she said, I did this last year. We wanted to have a booth at a conference, and the cost was more than either one of us really wanted to pay. And so we started looking, and she was like, okay, we can have a booth and it can have for 2 people. Can we tag team on a booth? Like whatever that is for you, but remember, your bridge is there, and it's going to either connect you to the opportunities that you've already built the foundation and you've already set the blueprint for. And so being able to look at that in 2025, and as Shisa kind of mentioned earlier, there's so much happening, right? It's so much chaos, there's so much noise. I want you to always remember that you have the opportunity to quiet the noise, get on a bridge, and just connect with someone else, because that is how we're going to all make it, and that's how we're going to all, and my last thing that is one of my little sayings is, I want to make sure that we don't suffer in financial silence, business silence, and leadership silence. And then as women, we are going through so much. I mean, I won't even start talking y'all about menopause, but I will just say that in those things, we can be our authentic self, we can be our vulnerable self, we can be our transparent self, and then there you can connect to someone that's going to also get you to accomplish your blueprint and implement what you want on your foundation. So that's my Chisa talk so it's not a TED talk, Chisa talk for today. And I hope that you will continue to be a woman who builds in 2025.
I want to introduce Cherith because this is one of those things that I think is a connection. So when I met Cherith, I originally was working with /4 because she was the director at Wake Tech, okay? And she had one of the most amazing assistants, let's just be clear. We put on some amazing events together, and we did numbers every time. Like, I think honestly, I've always been numbers driven because I'm like, I want to see the room full, right? Like, and we passed rooms out every time we did an event together. So then she transitioned and she was like, I'm leaving. And I was like, I am so sad why are you leaving, right? Because it's like, you know, the good people, they get fed up and then they know that they can do some different things. That's what happens, right? I mean, that's what happens. You know, the good people, they leave and then they start their own thing. But all of that wisdom and all of that knowledge has led us to this point that we're at today, where Charity gets to come out and have lunch, right, as a business owner, and do all of the fancy fun things. And one of the things that I told her when she started, she'll tell you about her plan and everything, but I was just like, I see your vision clearly, and I see that this is $1 million idea. Now, it's not making $1 million yet, right?
Not yet.
If it was, she probably would be like, I can't make it to the lunch.
That is not true.
To lunch. She's like, I'm going to be in San Tropez.
Okay, maybe that part is true.
That's why you like that part, right? But no, the thing is that it started from one thing. It could have just ended right there, but it was like, let's transition this and let's do some stuff together. And so that's one of the things that we talked about. So before you end yours too, I want you to talk about what you and Venus are doing together too. So we add that in.
Okay.
A little razzle dazzle form. So, Charis Robertson, everybody.
When is the last time you celebrated falling flat on your face? Anybody? Nobody. Nobody. So a couple weeks ago, I co-lead my daughter's Girl Scout troop, and a couple weeks ago we went ice skating for our end of year celebration for selling all of those lovely Girl Scout cookies. Anybody else love Girl Scout cookies? I don't know if I love Girl Scout cookies after Girl Scout cookie season, if I'm being completely honest. You can eat a lot of Girl Scout cookies, but so we went ice skating. That's what the girls chose to do. And I got out on the ice with the girls, and I was watching my 7-year-old, and she's taking ice skating lessons right now. And I could see her confidence really going up. So she's going as fast as her little 7-year-old body can go in circles around the ice. She's passing me, and I was like, you are going really fast to have taken 2 lessons, but you go, girl. And so I got off the ice. I was talking to some of the other moms and the girls, and all of a sudden my daughter's name is Kiko, 2 of Kiko's Girl Scout friends came running up to me, and they said, Miss Jareth, Kiko got hurt, Kiko got hurt. I was like, okay, this isn't good that they're both like running to me. And I turn around and another mom is carrying her towards me. I was like, okay, I don't know how concerned I should be. I don't see blood anywhere, like she's crying and visibly upset, but let's just check and see how she is. So I sat down and did a quick check. I found out that she'd fallen on her cheek, and she'd fallen quite hard. So we got some ice, realized that she didn't have any injuries with her teeth or anything, but she hit her face really hard. And it hurt a lot. So it probably took 15 or 20 minutes before she like kind of recovered. And I didn't push her to get back out on the ice because it was almost time to go. I was like, you know what, we're just gonna keep it as is. I could tell that she said, I'm never gonna go ice skating again. I said, okay, I hear that. I understand that. And so that night, after she'd kind of settled down and she was getting ready for bed, I said, Kiko, I'm really proud of you for falling tonight. And she was like, what? And she said, Mommy, you're not glad that I got hurt, are you? And I said, no, of course not. I don't want you to get hurt. So she's like, I need to verify that this is true. I'm like, no, I don't ever want you to get hurt, but I'm so proud of you for trying. I could tell that you were doing your best. And I'm proud of you for doing your best, and it's okay that you fell. And we talked about, I have gotten to be quite the hockey NHL fan this year. And so we were talking about how even the professional hockey players, she loves Simone Biles, even these, elite athletes fall all the time and get hurt. And so I've been thinking about this lesson over and over again over the last few weeks, because I realized that it's easy to put ourselves down when we fall, as we all will do inevitably, especially as we're building businesses, and forget that we should be celebrating when we fall, because it means that we're trying to do the hard thing. It means that we are pushing ourselves. We're going a little bit out of our comfort zones. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today about building, because we can't build without falling and making mistakes. If we try, we're just not going to get nearly as far. So I encourage you all to celebrate your falls and know that they're a signal that you're doing good work and you're pushing yourselves. And since Chisa allowed me to bring this, I just want to point out that this is my product. This is the Guided Small Business Planner. I think a lot of you have seen this. There are a couple of folks who haven't. This is a sample, so feel free to take a look at any point. It's a step-by-step guide for starting and growing a business. And I wrote it after working with hundreds of small business owners in one-on-one counseling sessions and thousands in programming like Chisa and I got to do together. So yeah, feel free to take a look. Let me know if you all have any questions. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces and meet a few new folks.
What's your project?
Oh, yes. So Venus and I reached out to Venus and I said, I know that you are a really strong supporter of female founders and female business owners. So we have been working on ways to gather women together, like what we're doing today, so that we can celebrate and build community for female founders. So we've got our first kind of event we're co-hosting together that's happening next week, and we're really excited to have female founders come together to where we're really building community and celebrating, because for me, I hear so many people talk about how entrepreneurship is so lonely, and I experienced that when I had a previous business. And with this business, just like with the birth of my second child, I said, what do I need to do differently this time? And I've been much more intentional about surrounding myself with people who I know can lift me up. And that's made a huge difference in how I feel about whether or not entrepreneurship is lonely. There are still times where I'm like, my house is really quiet and I need to go to a coffee shop, for a little while. But generally speaking, it feels a lot different this time around. So
what's the event? This is for female founders specifically, just a gathering.
Yeah.
We reached out to specific people in our network, but we're hoping to spread. We're hoping to replicate and find ways to support female founders connecting with each other. We went to I attended the Raleigh-Durham Startup Week event for female founders, and one of the things that they specifically highlighted in that session was like there's support, and then there's support with your pocketbook. Like there's support by if you need a photographer for your services, you hire someone within the Female Founder Network. If you need, whatever you need, legal services, marketing. And so we're trying to sort of build that. How do we support each other beyond just this person's awesome and an introduction? Like how do we really support each other and build each other up? So we're not exactly sure what future events are going to look like. We just know that we both care about it, and so we'll see.
It's really just about building that community. And I always say that friends don't ask friends to work for free. So how do we bring and build that network together?
So next, this happened because the internet. Have you ever heard of that? This one place called LinkedIn happened, and in LinkedIn, I have been super intentional over the last maybe 2 years specifically about focusing on LinkedIn, because to me that's where the decision makers are. So I always look at LinkedIn as like it's the dollars, like that's where they're at. So I have scaled back on Facebook. We still use Instagram heavily. I don't use Twitter/X anymore, but made LinkedIn really like this is the home of where the money comes to. And it has not failed me yet, so we continue doing those things. But it was funny because when I say, the reach out and you want to connect to people, I had planned on reaching out to her, but she reached out to me first. And when I got your message, I told my husband, I said, she was on my list of people to reach out to. I said, oh my God, and she reached out to me. I was like, that's so wonderful, right? And so what was interesting about this with Michelle, part of the reason she reached out is because we're sorority sisters. And what was so interesting about that is, that was one of my goals, was to get more invested back into my sorority this year. So this year we have 25 years from Elon of us founding our Omicron Upsilon chapter, which is down in Elon. So we celebrated our 25th anniversary. And then just going and looking at what other things can I get involved in. So there's an event that's coming up also called Sorority, which they asked me to be the MC for. So we'll be doing that in June. And we have some other things that'll be coming up. Because, and I'm gonna just say this, I know everybody's not in the sorority, but if you are, raise your hand. Okay, all right, so 3 in the room, okay. So with that, it's a different women leadership. It's just a different thing. And part of that is because there's a process that you go through in order to be together, in order to essentially call each other sister, wear the letters. And so even, we were discussing some of that over there, even in just your transition as far as you growing, I think, and this is just my personal opinion, you were probably, if you did go into specifically MPHC, which is like our historically black universities and organizations, even though I went to a PWI, so I went to Elon, but still, you know. So with that, what happened was you go through a transition, and while you're in college, you are so much more in your own little bubble of your organization. But once you get out here and you really understand, oh, we're grown-ups now. So does that matter as much? It does matter, okay? But even in having people from different organizations, we don't have to be from the same organization, but there's a respect that's there because people understand some of the things that you went through in order to be a part of that organization. So I think that that's an important factor, and it's just, you know, I don't necessarily think there's coincidences. I always say I pray for the things that I want, and then just God he just says, okay, here, sprinkle, sprinkle like Salt Bay. He just, you know, gives you the little things that you need, right? So this is one of those things. And not only that, she's also now one of our newest county commissioners for Durham. So put your hands together for Michelle Burton.
So first of all, I just want to give a hand clap or shake to Chisa, because this is wonderful. This is really, really wonderful. I really like being in a group of dynamic women because I learn from you and I'm able to, you know, connect with you, and just, this is just really, really a blessing. So thank you, Chisa and Monica, right, to putting all this together. So like Chisa said, we connected on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, this dynamic woman, she's my soror, I want to connect with her, things like that. And so, and she does things around small business, because as a county commissioner, I got elected in November of 2024. That was one of my focuses. I wanted to focus on how do I help small business, particularly businesses with people of color, how do I help them grow and use this role that I'm in. And I was sharing at the table, my grandparents were small business owners in Fayetteville. They owned a successful two barbershops. My grandmother was a school teacher, and my grandfather, he ran the barbershop as the barber and things. And they did that for 30 years, and then after he retired, he just turned it over to his head barber. So and that property is still in our family, right? So thinking, how do we build generational wealth? So I know I only got 5 minutes, so I was thinking about, well, what do I talk to you all about today? So there are 3 things that, because we're talking about women who build, 3 things that I want to share with you, and I'm going to go through them really quick. Being a county commissioner, I started, briefly my story, I was an elementary school librarian for 30 years. I just retired in June of 2024. And I'm now Durham County Commissioner. Durham is the 6th largest county by population. I just found out that the city of Durham is the 3rd largest city in North Carolina. We have surpassed Greensboro. So how did I go from being so how did I go from being an elementary school librarian, teacher, 30 years, to be a Durham County Commissioner? And one of the things I just want to leave with you all is really think big. Think big. Do not limit yourselves. So what happened was, one, I made a decision in my early career, younger self. I said to myself, if this career worked out, I wasn't going past year 30. I wasn't going past year 30. So that meant, all right, so year 30 is coming up, so what am I going to do? So I was very involved with my teacher association union, the Durham Association of Educators. So I was really involved with that. 2017, the man who was the president before me, young man, said, you know, your name's coming up to be the next DAE president. My first inclination was, you know, I'm not loud. I'm kind of soft-spoken. I'm not loud. He was like, you don't have to be loud. Everybody say you're the one. So I was like, okay. I'll do it. So I became president of DAE, Durham Association of Educators. I didn't know that I was going to lead during COVID. I became president in 2019, COVID hit in 2020. All right, so that was stressful. So I said I got through that. And then people, starting around 2021, 2022, they start coming up to me and saying, you know what, you should run for public office. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know. Yeah, you should run for public office. You're really good. You run for public office. I said, okay, I don't know. 2023, I had planned on retiring in December of 2023, but I had to have major surgery, so I was out for 2 months. And so while I was out, people were coming up to me, so are you gonna run? I was like, I don't know. Then my cousin from Philly, she's checking on me after I had my surgery, and she says, are you gonna run for office? I said, man, everybody's coming up to me. And she said, Michelle, the reason why we got bad people who run for office is because good people don't run. And we need people like you to run. So I said, okay. And so I'm not gonna go through the whole story, but I had 4 months to get a campaign together in Durham County because it's such a blue county, only Democrats run. The primary settled it. So this November, I said, okay, I'm gonna run. March, primary, I won. 1 of 5, 11 people ran. I was one of the 5 people to win a seat on the Durham County Board of Commissioners. So with that story, I'm saying, think big, don't limit yourself. Secondly, you're gonna leave people behind. You're gonna leave people behind, all right? And be okay with that. You're gonna leave people, places, and whatever you need to go to the next level. I was at an event for, we have to go to a lot of events. Durham County Cooperative Extension, they had an event and things like that, tables are set out. So I saw a woman who I started teaching with 30 years ago. And she got out the car. I said, hey, you remember me? She didn't remember my face. And then I told her who I was. She was like, I voted for you. I saw your name on the ballot and I voted for you. I was like, yeah. And so we're walking to the place. And I realized in that moment that if I had still stayed with her or worked with her, I would not be a county commissioner because I had to think bigger. How many of you have Facebook, right? Well, guess what? This guy that liked me many years ago, he just sent me a friend request on Facebook. That's happened twice, 2 guys. And I realized, okay, people are going to be attracted to you because of your success, but you can't go back. So be okay with leaving people and places behind, knowing where you need to go. Thirdly, I'm going to leave this with you. Always ask yourself who's going to be at your table. Who's going to be at your table? And I mean that literally and figuratively. What do I mean by that? So I'm the vice chair of the North Carolina Foundation for Public School Children. And we have a big gala every year at the Angus Barn. Now, the previous years, I was a table host and I would use my money from the Durham Association of Educators to pay for the table. The previous year, I used some of my campaign money, but I ain't got the money this year. So they wanted me to be a table host. So each ticket was $175. I had to fill the table. That means I had to ask people for $175 to help me be a table guest, right? So I went to folks. I was able to raise that money, then some. And I had to think strategically. I had to think, okay, who would be okay? Who is for public education, number one? Who wants to support public education, and who has $175 and it wouldn't bother them to give it up. Right. $175 is nothing. So I was able to fill my entire table. Each person paid $175. So think about who is going to be at your table, literally, figuratively. Because are you going to have people who can't do anything for you at your table? Right? Because a lot of times we are with people, okay, they're at our table, but they really can't help us with anything, right? I had a big goal the board of directors of that foundation needed to raise $300,000 with that gala. If we didn't raise that $300,000, children across the state would not have access to this fund. So I had to be very strategic and ask, can you buy a ticket? Can you buy a ticket? So always ask yourself, who's going to be at your table? So I know that was fast. I hope to connect with all of you all. I know I'm on the Workforce Development Board, so I have to connect with you. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope I inspired you with the words that I shared with you today. Thank you so much.